Okay, so now that you have watched the video and you should have taken notes, that's just listing the basic steps from the video. Um, Now let's go into a little bit more specifics. All right, so in the video, you determine, or she determined, that N2 is a limiting reactant. The limiting reactant is the reactant that produces the least amount of product. Okay, so you want to make sure you add that here is the reactant that produces the least amount of product. And in that case, it's N2. And the way she determined that was she determined the amount of product you can make from each given reactant. So she determined how much NH3 you can make from 14.32 grams of N2 and how much NH3 you can make from 4.21 grams of H2 using the stoichiometry skills that we've learned in the previous parts of this video. And when she did that, she found that N2 produces the least amount of product, so that's our limiting. The next thing is our theoretical. Now that wasn't covered in the video, but the cool thing is you actually found the theoretical. The theoretical yield is that the smallest number that you calculated. So in that case, the 17.43 grams of NH3, that's our theoretical yield. So theoretical yield technically is the maximum amount of product you can make. So when you mix 14.32 grams of N2 and 4.21 grams of H2, technically the maximum amount of NH3 you can make is 17.43 grams of NH3. That may seem a little counterintuitive because you're thinking, well, it's the maximum amount, but I'm using the smallest number. That's because you cannot make more product than what you have. The N2 is your limiting. It's the thing that's going to run out of first. So once that runs out, you can't make any more NH3. And so the maximum amount you can make is determined by your limiting. And so that, therefore, the theoretical is that smallest number that you calculated. Okay, the last thing is calculating the percent yield. So that also wasn't covered in the video, but the percent yield is quite simple. It follows this equation. Percent yield is equal to actual yield divided by theoretical yield times 100%. When you do a chemical reaction, just like when you cook, the amount that the recipe says, a lot of times you'll make, if you follow the recipe to the T, a lot of times you make less than that. And that's because things happen. And the same thing is true in a chemical reaction. The maximum amount you can make is oftentimes not the amount you actually make. So in this problem, it's telling you that you isolated 14.99 grams of NH3. So that means you actually made 14.99 grams of NH3. But you already know that theoretically, the maximum amount you can make is 17.43 grams of NH3. So what the percent yield tells you is sort of how good was your reaction. And so in order to calculate that, you take your actual, which in this case will be the 14.99 grams, divided by the theoretical, which is what you determined previously, 17.43 grams, and you divide 14.99 by the 17.43. And then multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percent. And in this example, the percent yield, if you isolated 14.99 grams, your percent yield is 86%. So it's like the reaction was 86% successful. All right, so for the percent yield equation, you want to write that equation there, actual divided by theoretical times 100. All right, so that is essentially it for stoichiometry. The last thing you're going to do is just do some limiting reactant, theoretical yield, and percent yield practice problems just to make sure you're strong and secure on that. All right, that's it for stoichiometry. Have a quality day.